with the most sincere of heartache and the crumbling walls of my mind, I welcome friends. But then something inside me breaks. My soul begins to bleed. My eyes turn a ghostly red, and all I see around me are enemies. Greetings and salutations, my friends. Let me pull the mic up so you can actually hear me good and proper. Today, we're going to be doing a book review of a different spark. We're going to be doing a book review of a book of poetry by my friend, someone who I met via social media, who I deeply enjoy my interactions with. I think they're a talented artist and poet. The book is Beautiful and Battered by Orky Datter. To be quite honest, I don't know how to say her name. At least I don't know if that's her last name or just her pen name or whatever. But I sure as fuck don't know how to say it, so I call her Orky. So this book is good. This is obviously the first time I've reviewed a book of poetry in this on this channel, and I really enjoy it. You may not realize it from watching my content, and my work isn't out yet, so you wouldn't be able to analyze it to read between the lines on that one, but I enjoy some good poetry. If you search the internet hard enough, you might even be able to find my dreadfully angsty teenage poetry that is lurking in the bowels of the internet. Orky is much better of a poet than I am. And I'm going to read and analyze at least a few of these. Most of them are enjoyable. There were only a few in the book. The book is 176 pages long, and that's almost a poem per page. Some of them are two. I think there's even one that's 3 pages long. But in all of those, I think there's only a handful of poems that I would call duds, that didn't do anything for me. Most of them hit me in one way or the other. Now, it is important to note that Orky is not a English-speaking native. She doesn't hail from the UK or the United States or any other country where English is the first language spoken. She's Norwegian. And so she's still mastering her grasp of English, and there's been a few times where I've interacted with her on social media where she's posted a poem and I've said, "Hey, did you mean this?" or "I think you meant this," and she's said, "Oh yes, I did. Thank you for correcting me." And it has been my great pleasure to help her polish a few of her poems in that way. But this book, my understanding is the overwhelming majority of this was created before she even knew me, and I think a lot of it was unreleased before the book. So, there was no way I was going to get my nitpicky little nose in to edit some of these. And in fact, she says right in the preface that these poems are raw and unedited, and so I think to a certain extent, possibly to the whole extent, she wants it that way for one reason or another. Don't ask me why. Maybe she feels that there's a certain value in bringing the art to you raw, and I think to a certain extent there is a little bit of value in that. But some of them certainly have some rough edges. Some of them certainly, to an English-speaking native, you're just like, okay, that's not poetry. That's just the wrong word or an improper use of grammar. And certainly when we're writing free verse poetry, you can play around with the rules of grammar and the tense of words and stuff like that. That's one of the things poetry is really good for, is being able to play with language. But There are some places in here where I feel like it's just that she hasn't quite mastered the language yet, and that's fine. You know, I'm a native speaker and I haven't mastered it by far. But my point in bringing all that up is that there are some poems that I'm going to read, and I'm going to make a live correction. I'm not going to read it verbatim as it's written. I'm going to speak it in the corrected form that I believe she was aiming for. And if you have a problem with that and you want them raw and unedited as they are, go buy her book. All right. So, the first one I wanted to briefly talk about, I'm not going to read it, but I am going to just mention a few lines out of it. So, the poem is Valuable on page 14. The name is Valuable. Butterflies cannot see their wings. They can't see how beautiful they are. But everyone else can. I'm also like that, and I think many with me are. The whole poem continues on in that theme of having inner value, of being valuable, and it's a very nice sentiment. I think Orky, in some ways, takes a brighter view of humanity than I do. But the poem is very much words of affirmation in a poem. It's quite sweet. Then, on the very next page, we have Ghost Souls from the Nature. Page 15. And this one is lengthy, and it's one of the ones where there's quite a bit of symbolism and hidden meaning to be gleaned. And I think that depending on who you are, you can interpret it a few different ways. So we're going to read through this, and then we're going to go through a little bit of analysis that I've written up here. Ghost Souls from the Nature. Nature's most beautiful souls have been sawn and cut down, have been driven over, stepped on, and shuffled off by an excavator. Many of the beautiful trees have been swept up by the root and shaken up and down. Something is gone, but a lot is left. The trees are pushed together to smithereens and back. There are large, dark, and gloomy piles. Piles of beautiful trees and shrubs that have faded with their splendor. It's like a burial mound. It feels like it is shouted by pain from the trees' souls. Some deer stand by the dark piles. There were once green and succulent buds that tasted of nature's purity. The deer scramble in the mound. Around the fragile deer legs, dust and mud splashes. Dust that lies like a ghost over the beauty that once was. No grace in this world. Man against nature. Can the beautiful tones from rippling autumn leaves color the spring's raindrops again? It is like the bones rustling from the inner chamber of the dust, fragile, the brave nature's own voice withering away. They stick well. I can glimpse ghost souls from nature who painfully struggle for eternal life. It becomes empty. Left behind it is just a ghostly landscape. They can give the darkest dark goosebumps. Right? Like I said, steeped in meaning and lots of metaphor and imagery. That's one of the things I really enjoy about Orky's poetry. She really enjoys playing with imagery. I think she's very good at it. So in lines 1 through 4, nature's most beautiful souls, and then down to shuffled off by an excavator. I really feel like she's setting up that the trees are supposed to be a metaphor for people. You know, we all often say the good die young, right? Idealists die young. Not necessarily because their physical bodies die, but because idealism and lofty morals are often stomped out of us at an early age. And I think that's one of the ideas that's being hinted on in this poem. And then we have this section down here, the trees being pushed together to smithereens and back again, and the reference to the burial mound. And I'm wondering if she's saying that when people become broken and pushed together, if that is the burial mound. And then I wonder to myself, what do the deer symbolize? Are the deer scavengers at the mound? Are the deer here to pick away the last vestiges of life and beauty that remain around the burial mound of souls? Or are the deer symbolic of emotions and feelings that we have in our souls when we're broken, when we're beaten down? I think it's a very interesting poem to sit down and think about. I really enjoy it. And then the at the end, the language about the bones and the dust and souls painfully struggling for eternal life. And especially the top of the second page, where she says, "Can the beautiful tones from rippling autumn leaves color the spring's raindrops again?" I can't help but feel like she's asking, can things be as they were? Or are things too fragile to be put back together? Can anything be like it was? It's a beautiful question. And I'm sorry, in my opinion, the answer is no. It's a beautiful question, though. Moving on. Page 20 is A Brushstroke, is the name of the poem. And I wanted to read this poem for a few reasons. We'll read it and talk about it. For every time she picks up the brush and looks at the colors in front of her, her heart will sing a happy song. When she decides what colors she should wear on her coat, her soul will rejoice. As she lets the brush and paint become one, her feelings of pain scream, and one brushstroke reminds her of what was. She can have bright and happy colors, but still a shadow is thrown over them. She can choose sad and dark colors, and yet a shadow is thrown over them, so they become even darker. She can use the brush quickly, with specific coats, or use the brush gently with light movements. For each brushstroke there is a feeling. The more she paints, the more she appears. In the games of color, her innermost is reflected in what is painted in front of her. She shakes her breath, trembling, and holds up what she paints in front of her. In a moment, a glimpse of the ghosts and a little glimpse of pain. She can see something change. She hangs up what she has painted on the wall, takes a few steps back, and with adoration in the eye, she sees the shadows getting smaller and the colors becoming clearer. Can she master letting go? Can she color over what was with new colors? Can darkness brighten again? What colors will she paint on her fragile wings that will learn to fly? She wipes away some tears, tears falling from the depths of her heart and covering her soul with dot dot dot. I like this poem for a few reasons. I like the imagery of exploring yourself through your art, and it reminds me of the two women in my life who had the greatest impact on me romantically. One was my first relationship, and one was my last relationship, and both of them were painters. Kind of funny how that works, huh? And then one of the main things that caught my eye was she ends the poem with dot dot dot, which immediately made me think of a song by This Will Destroy You. Great band, you should check them out. I listen to them a lot when I write. She ends the poem with dot dot dot, and This Will Destroy You has a song titled This World Is Our underscore underscore underscore. This world is our blank. My best friend, who is no longer with us, showed me that song in high school, and I listened to it. And the first thing I thought was, this world is our garden. It's very obvious that they wanted you to fill in the word after you listen to the song. When I listened to that song, that's what popped into my mind. This world is our garden. She wipes away some tears, tears falling from the depths of her heart and covering her soul with hope. That's what I would put there. I would put hope where those three dots are. But maybe I'm too optimistic. There's a few poems in here I just want to read so you can get a flavor of Orky's poetry, get a feel for her artistic stylings, because I like these poems. In page 27, The Norwegian Force is one such poem. Here we go. A stream of emotions rising through her body, where the blood bubbled through her veins, and she can feel the Norwegian force take her back in a bygone era. At the top of the mountain, she stretches her arms out, and she can feel all the lost souls who try to find home. The heart rhythm is like a large drum that surrounds the whole of nature's own beauty with strong rhythms. Her skin can sense the magic, power that rises up the hills and stays one with the sky. She has a bonfire in her heart, like sparkles of energy. Her spirit feels the peace. I love that poem. And if you can't figure out why I love that poem, tough luck. This next poem I wanted to read and share with you all because it really stabs at the heart of why I love Orky's work so much. I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it. Page 29, The Darkness. She can feel the darkness creeping up her body, knocking on her bones. Her heart, full of emptiness, freezes. Her mind speaks a language she does not understand. She wants to feel passionate love. She has so much to give. She fights and does not want to fade away. She is not ready to go. She escapes. The past will always catch up with her, her mysterious side, waiting to be discovered, alone with her mind, alone with her soul, in the dark, alone, with her heart of scars, eternal contact with the darkness. I love that poem because I really feel it. Anyone who's dealt with depression knows what that's like. And I've been dealing with it most of my life. I think I started coming down with symptoms of it when I was actually 7 or 8. And it's very interesting to read the work of other people who have suffered similar mental illness or tragedies or traumas, because you can see yourself in the art. You can feel yourself in the words. When the imagery pops into your mind, you feel what the author was feeling, because you felt something very similar. Eternal contact with the darkness. Yeah. Then, on a cheerier note, on the very next page, which is kind of funny in and of itself, but on the very next page, page 30, The Secret, we have a totally opposite kind of mood, and I'll read it to you. He loves her when she is a secret. Her heart is swelling with emotions. She twists her tongue and her blood is rushing. She feels stars in his eyes. Her lips shape his name. He tastes her lust delightful. Bodies lick with motions. Her fingertips on his chest. He grabs her hair and naping to her neck. She is drowning in his arms. He embraces himself around her. She kisses his lips slowly. He breathes harder. She satisfies all his wants. He smells her desire. She can feel his heartbeat. His fingers dance along her jaw, whispering something in her ear. No one else knows her flames of passion as you plunge within her depths and write her into his story. No commentary needed. Page 48. I'm falling like a star. I'm falling like a star. He looks great in everything or nothing. He is the voice I love to hear. He is like a bubble bath and candles. He is like champagne and strawberries. He is like deep, dark red roses, unresolved, each petal. He is like a blizzard and silent ocean. I'm falling like a star. Take 15 minutes to kiss goodnight. I am mesmerized by all about him. He is the song I put on replay in my mind. He is the poem I dare not to write. I remember the first time I saw him, trying not to stare. He enchanted me when his eyes met mine. He is a good conversation I wouldn't miss for anything. I'm falling like a star. He is a picture in my wallet. He put all my ripped pages in my heart back again and kissed my scars to fade. He makes me feel alive and colorful. He fits perfectly within my soul. He melted her frozen heart. He is all the things that I long to and have. Faith to and always miss. I'm falling like a star. Let us catch each other's heartbeat and wrap ourselves in the dangerous spiderweb of love. If you survive by making love on my polar bear fur in front of the fireplace in the spooky midnight hour. Now, one thing I want to comment on this poem is this section right here near the end. He is all the things that I long to and have. Faith to and always misses. I'm falling like a star. That's one of those places where I think Orky's grasp of English is kind of making it a little bit harder to understand. And I honestly don't know what to make of that, so I didn't bother trying to correct it. So, make of that what you will. I still enjoy the poem, especially I especially enjoy the first page. The first page for me is where the meat of the poem is, anyways, is the imagery I really enjoy. Page 55, Monster Love. And this one hits home. She is in love with a monster. Darkness, as dark as her shadowy secrets. You are longing to find the key. Silence, like a lioness hunting. Silence, like a butterfly sparkling in the frozen water. Now is your moment to break her down. Heavy, like raindrops from her battle. Yesterday, that dried like the tears on her cheek in her desolation. Are you lingering in her shattered heart? She can't breathe. With your silence, you are killing her softly. Your feelings fade, and her memories don't. Page 67, Shades of Colors. If I can show you my devilish dreams, it can be a perfect soundtrack. I can tell you everything, and you can forget it because it makes you blush forever. You will rip off my clothes, and I'm standing there naked, and I'll let you spill your ink on every shape of my body, and use your feathers to make me yours. Shades of colors, you can create me perfect. You have a desire to tell me everything that will make my mind go crazy, and my heart will rhythm to your heartbeat. But I scarred you with my quivering skeletons, hidden in the closet. Please don't hold back the words, because you are afraid to be hurt. I will smack your walls down with my naked body, and you will let love in. Only my skin and bones twisted around your body and mine, embraced with a sensation of death simply for loving. You don't have to be alone and cold in your peaceful bed when I can make it warm with my ignition of the devil's shadow beyond your imagination. Loving me will leave a burning mark in your soul. Where's she at, though? Am I right, fellas? Where's she at, though? Where can I get me a girl like that? Damn. And that's how I feel about a lot of the poetry in this book. I read it and I say to myself, why can't I meet this girl? Why can't I find her walking down the street? Wishful thinking, am I right? Now, this next one, I think might be the best poem in the book. I really enjoy this poem. It's very well written. It's one of the best written ones. And the imagery and the pacing, the way it's written, it all hits me pretty much exactly how I want to be hit. I'll just say it that way. I really enjoy this poem. Page 92, Reflections. Off guard, a shout in the dark. Unusual, hunted down. Wounded, crumbling. Heartbeat, gushing blood. Licking herself on the lips, always been different. Her past, the hunting, thirsty, hunger. Sunrise behind the mountains. Jumping down from her secret place. Running, she is tearing apart. Piece by piece goes up in smoke, and the dust is taken by the wind. At the river, she watches herself in the water. Long hair like the midnight sun's color play. Green eyes that sparkle like emeralds. Lips like a witch. Tongue skilled in ink. A body like the white night turns upside down. She shudders. Inadequate. touching the shining water, despises herself. Shadows that threaten the landscape, not safe. Embraces herself with pain. A predator, she feels it like a sin, a destiny in the darkness. It was more than she could take, as another warrior falls. This is the only one I've read you so far that I didn't change anything on the page. It's written exactly like I read it. Now, of course, you can't tell where the line breaks are when I'm reading it to you and everything, but I didn't change any words, change any tense, add an S, change, nothing. It's written as I read it. I love this fucking poem. The imagery is fantastic. The pacing is amazing. And it tells a story. That's one of the things I really enjoy about good poetry. Good poetry is poetry, but it tells a story. It doesn't always have to. That's not the point of poetry. But a lot of good poetry still tells a story, like this one does. And I absolutely fucking love it. Not to mention the fact that I just really feel like it has that flavor of epicness, that flavor of awesome destiny that all of us wish for. It's a very unique flavor, isn't it? Now, that poem is closely followed, in my opinion, in quality and epicness by page 99, A Summer Night. Her Norwegian blood, red as the evening sun, runs in her Viking veins, which is as blue as the glacier. Her skin is milky white, like the cold winter snow. She dances between mountains and valleys where waterfalls flow down to the fjord. A summer night with flowers in the hair, a dress that flutters in the wind. She is like a fresh blossoming of black roses with a touch of red darkness. Has lit a flame, has won a battle. It crackles in the joyful fire with a mark of love, like the rainbow signs under the clouds. As unique as every snowflake, she swims under the stars, in the moonlight of the night, in the ocean of romance. Fucking love that poem! So good! God, I love Orky's poetry. Ah, man. I feel like a fucking fanboy, but fuck it. Full send, am I right, fellas? Now, this next one, I'm actually going to ask her if I can use this in my book. She's already given me her gracious permission to use some of her work in my second novel, which is a sequel to my first. And that, by the way, is already done. The rough draft is done, so that's going to be released very promptly after the first. But she's already let me use some of her poetry in that novel. And I want to use this poem in the third, because it's perfect for what I have in mind. Page 110. Angel of Death. She is lying in a bed of dreams, of nightmares. Like a wave on the ocean, her hair rests on the pillow. She looks like an angel, someone said. Maybe the angel of death. She can hear her soul whisper your name. She has lost her way. Hollow inside. Salty drops fall from her eyes of honesty. Memories of you cover her heart. Constant pain. Will it ever stop hurting? Every thought is shadowed by you. She grabs a needle and thread, tries to sew her scars. She will never feel hurt again. That's that good shit. So, I'm going to close it off with that one in terms of the readings. The Peum book is Beautiful and Battered, Breaking Through the Chains by Orky Datter. And like I said, there's only a few duds in here. I really enjoy her poetry. I think every one of these has something to say to someone. Now, I do want to give you a final warning. This book gets graphic in some places. It has some very direct references to some very adult material. If you have sexual traumas, you might not want to read this book. And if you have any kind of abuse trauma, you might not want to read this book. With that being said, I really enjoy it. I would rate it 10 out of 10, if not for the places where the English needs work. But I wouldn't be an honest and good critic if I gave it a 10 out of 10 when there's so many places where it's obvious that the English needed work. The choice to not edit was an artistic choice, and I respect the boldness of that artistic choice, but I cannot ignore the fact that that artistic choice detracted from the quality of the language. And so, while I deeply love Orky's poetry, I can't give the book a 10 out of 10 because of that. 8 out of 10 for some places where the English needs polishing. And I thoroughly recommend going and buying this book. And the nice thing about the places where the English does need work is sometimes you can play with it in your own mind and have it say whatever you want it to say. So that's actually one nice little silver lining about that. So there you have it, folks. Beautiful and Battered by Orky Datter. However the hell you say that name. Orky, if I butchered your last name, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I'm just a city boy from the States, okay? I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Alright, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the more serious video without background music and without any kind of comedic flair or anything. Sometimes it's nice to get serious and be honest that we're humans with emotions and just be emotional. I think that's an important thing that's lost on our culture these days. So, no jokes about being edgy, except for that one. No jokes about being a sad boy, except for that one. I hope you enjoyed the video. I recommend her book for the 100th time. See you next time, friends.